Hello, welcome back to my channel, to the Richie Reader. So I'm going to be talking about my July reading wrap up. I did do a good amount reading for my rereads month. I'm going to be doing another rereads month because there's still so many rereads I want to do. I'm having fun rereading some of my old favorites I haven't read in a while. But I did read if I can grab them, the Guardian series, all 5 books. So for those of you that are not aware, there is an animated movie called Rise of the Guardians, which I am obsessed with. I love that movie. And there's a book series about the Guardians. The Rise of the Guardians kind of shows how Jack became a Guardian. It was kind of his story. Sandy's my favorite Guardian, though, if we're being honest. But the first book is the first 4 books are about how those 4 other Guardians became Guardians, what led them on that path. And then the 5th one is after Jack was already a Guardian. But yeah, so I really like it. The 4th book is my favorite, and maybe I'm just biased because it is Sandman's book, and I love him. But his story is very interesting. All the stories are very interesting, and it's interesting to see how he's connected to Pitch and everything because he has known Pitch a lot longer than any of them. Obviously, they've been fighting for like centuries at this point because he's the oldest Guardian. For those of you that did not know, and yeah, but it was really interesting to see how they all became Guardians. And I like it because each one of them have their own relic that goes with their guardianship that they find in their book, and the relics joined together can defeat Pitch. But it's really interesting to watch them all find their relics and everything. Trying to figure out where to put this. Okay. And then I read Isle of Lost 4 books. There's technically 5 in the Isle of Lost series. The 5th one I did read once via Libby. But I do not own it yet. I do need to buy it, and when I do, I can find it accurate because I only read that book once, and I can read it and have it. But these 4 books I read several times. So, for those of you that do not know, I'm also a big Descendants fan, and these books are kind of about it. Isle of Lost is spaced before the first movie, so it's kind of interesting to see the 4 of them on the Isle for a long time, like before they ever chose to be good. They were all like still wanting their parents' approval. They were all still trying to be evil because they thought that was their only option. And it was also interesting to see them all like become what they became because at the beginning of Descendants they were already friends. They would never admit that they were friends because that was frowned upon, but they were. They cared about it more than any of them were willing to admit at the beginning of the first movie. Obviously, by the end of the second movie, they all admitted how much they actually do care about each other and their friendship. But so this starts off with Mel and Jay already are friends, even though, like I said, they will never admit it. But because they go around, they're like the big dogs, they're the big bullies of the school and everything. And then there's Carlos and Evie who meet early on, and the 2 of them become close friends. And then the 4 of them end up on a journey together in the Isle because they think that there might be magic in there that they could use to help their parents escape and yada yada, all that. And by the end of and I really like it because they all have a certain test that they have to pass on the journey. The test is perfectly designed for them, and it's kind of about their parents and the fact that their parents are awful and hate them, basically, and all the trauma with that, accepting that their parents will never truly love them, which is very devastating. But yeah. Second book and third book are both in between movies 1 and 2. The second book I like a little bit more than the third book. Second book was interesting because it's not long after the first movie, and the 4 of them end up having to go back to the Isle because they think that there is an organization happening trying to rebel, trying to get out of the Isle, and trying to destroy them and everything they have created in Oregon. So it was really interesting, and I enjoyed it because once again they end up having to face tests, but this time the tests steered towards their friendship. I know, like with Jay's, it was learning about learning that he's already really rich because of his friendship, Then Mel's was accepting that she wasn't alone. Evie was accepting that Evie was accepting she wasn't alone. Mel was learning to rely on her friends, and Carlos not so much about the friendship and more about, well, I guess it had to do with his friendship because it was like learning to follow your heart and not always your head, which is hard led him to his friends. So yeah, but I really enjoyed it. I love a good where everyone has a test to pass sort of vibe. Third one is more about Uma's trying to get out of the aisle, so this is shortly before the second movie, and then this book, Escape from Outlaws, is in between movies 2 and 3, and yeah, so and then the fifth. I did not read the fifth one because I did not own it, and I wanted to wait till I own it to reread it so that I could have it and everything. That one is about in between movies 3 and 4 is about Red being in Wonderland. So that's really interesting. So yeah. And then yeah, so that is what I read in July. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and comment what you read in July, and I'll show you guys below in the comments. Until next time.